reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. You duped me, O Lord, and I let myself be duped. You were too strong for me, and you triumphed. All the day I am an object of laughter. Everyone mocks me. Whenever I speak, I must cry out. Violence and outrage is my message. The word of the Lord has brought me derision and reproach all the day. I say to myself, I will not mention him. I will speak in his name no more. But then it becomes like fire burning in my heart, imprisoned in my bones. I grow weary holding it in. I cannot endure it. The word of the Lord.
Our first reading for this Sunday comes from the prophet Jeremiah, a prophet that is close to all of us, a prophet whose experience we can identify with. In this reading for today, we catch Jeremiah complaining to God. Oh, we must have complained to God like Jeremiah, or even worse than Jeremiah has done in the first reading. But what was the reason for Jeremiah's complaint? He was complaining to God for having overpowered him. God was so strong that Jeremiah could not resist him. Well, that is to be taken for granted. When you are wrestling with God, whom do you think would end up being the stronger one? Of course, God. Who could resist God? We have our free will. We can really refuse God. But if we are a person that has some openness to God, even a bit of openness to God, we know that God is irresistible. But this experience comes in the form of being possessed by God, and you feel helpless, especially if we enter the world of Jeremiah. He was a prophet. God has claimed him, and God has made him speak only the words of God. But the end result was this. Every time Jeremiah spoke the word of God, his hearers, because of their resistance to God, vent their ire against God on Jeremiah. People's anger towards God and God's message actually was felt fully by Jeremiah. Jeremiah saw the violence, the animosity that the message of God could create in people. And so Jeremiah complains to God, you fooled me. But he also complained to himself, I allowed myself to be fooled by God. And look at what's happening to me. I have made a lot of enemies because of your word, O God. These people who cannot accept your will, who cannot accept your word, they're all turning against me. And so Jeremiah, just like any person who comes to a point where you evaluate, is it worth pursuing this mission, came to the conclusion. He said, well, I better stop this. I'm not gaining anything from this. If there is any gain, it is on the negative side. I gain hardships, suffering, and enemies. So I stop this. I won't mention the name of God again. I have nothing to do with you, God, again. But Jeremiah, true to himself, says, but how can I do this? Your word is like fire burning in my heart. It is there in my marrow, consuming me. Your word is already within me. And if I stop proclaiming it, I won't be true to myself. Denying God, Jeremiah will be denying himself. We are entering here a different realm of consciousness. This is not the usual worldly way of making decisions. In our worldly way of weighing things, we say, okay, if something is profitable, pursue it. If something goes your way, pursue it. If you gain many positive things from something, pursue it. But if the balance sheet shows that you are gaining only negative things, stop it, and stop it soon. But here we are beyond worldly ways. We are before the experience of God, a God who has come into the heart, the marrow, the interiority of a person. When that happens, that person makes decisions quite contrary to the ways of the world. But it is real. It is true for someone who has met God.